of this, uh, it's okay.
Yeah, greetings to you all, comrades. Feel most welcome to our class today. This is our consciousness study group, of course, where we do study the philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah called consciousness. So, Brother Kwame, kindly introduce members or welcome members to the class.
Brother Kwame says he's on the train. You're muted, Brother Kwame. Brother Kwame, you're muted.
Yeah, it's okay. Give me Brother Pigeon. I just want to say that. Yeah, hold on. Sorry, give me a moment, please. Thank you.
Okay, so
yeah,
members,
sorry, give me a moment. Yes. So I would like to, on behalf of CSG, welcome all of you to our Thursday class. This is indeed the Consensus Study class, and the group is us who are here. So the Consensus Study group is not separate from you, the members. You are the Consensus Study group, and we hold our class every Thursday, and we discuss philosophy and ideology with specific reference to the African Revolution. And by the African Revolution, we have a specific understanding, which is the liberation, total liberation, unification, and the development of Africa. That is what was meant by our Pan-African fathers and mothers by the African Revolution. It has installed when our Sajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was removed from office in 1966, 4th February, by the imperialists. It stalled the revolution, and a lot has happened since. And it was clear that following the removal of Sajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and other, shall I say, Pan-African lights, when that happened, till now, what has happened is that the continent has been overrun by liberal and conservative Africans who are in office, supported by the imperialists. So we here came to the conclusion that there's something needed to be done. So which is why we started these classes. So these classes had been ongoing offline for about maybe between 5 and 10 years, although it's debatable because there were breaks between. And when COVID came, one of our brothers, called Brother Michael, suggested to me that why don't we take the meeting online, which I think was one of the best ideas that came up, because what has happened, and Brother Pigeon here will confirm the numbers. Suddenly we are reaching thousands of people. There are hundreds of people watching the YouTube channel where we upload these discussions. And because we hold 2 meetings basically a week, including our Swahili class, suddenly we have hundreds of videos. Not hundreds, we have tens of videos. And so we thank you for those of you who are here and those who are yet to come. We thank you for your commitment to the struggle, because your being here is evidence of your commitment and your love for Africa, your commitment to the liberation, unification, and development of Africa, and our ancestors and our brothers and sisters who come onto the YouTube channel. I think they appreciate you. They appreciate the fact that you have dedicated yourself to freely provide these videos, and I think they are very, very grateful. So thank you for coming. Today's discussion is us on the screen, and what we do in our class is that we share our thinking, and by that we mean that everybody here has the right to think for themselves and to think what they like. It's up to you. You can think whatever you like, and you are free to disagree even with anything that you have read, we have read. and you are free to disagree and say, look, I think this. That's fine. Only what we ask for is that you do it respectfully, and you do it also on the realization that someone may share a thinking that is in opposition to yours. And that should not be a problem because we live in a dialectical world. So it has to be oppositional forces. It is iron that sharpens iron, as you know. Wood cannot sharpen iron, and iron cannot sharpen wood. Iron will rather cut wood if it tries to sharpen it. So once again, that is what we do. Thank you for coming. That's what we do. We read it, we read a text, and then we discuss. We go around, everybody shares their thinking. That's how we do it. And if you don't have to share your thinking, if you feel you're not ready, if you feel that you want some time to think through what you have read, that's fine. All you do is say pass. That's perfectly okay. After you've heard more people, you might want to come back and say, now this is my thinking. Again, that is perfectly okay. So, yeah, Brother Pigeon, I think that is it.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
everyone. I will put my microphone off because of the constant announcements in the train, which I think we don't want to disrupt the recording. So I'll
Thank
be
you.
listening. And when Brother Pigeon calls me, I will then also share my thinking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Kwame. Yes, I hope I'm audible now, and welcome members once again. That's what we do every day. We actually share our thinking, and basically we are guided by this book. So we are guided by the philosophy and the ideology of Kwame Nkrumah, which he actually put on this book called Consciousness. So before we go further, permit me to reshare or read the previous class text. Our today's class starts from where I've highlighted in yellow. But I want to give just a reading of the past discussion so that then we move to this reading today and then we discuss. So this past discussion will give you at least a background of where we are coming from. So let me read the past paragraph, which starts from the word there was. So there was consequently no need to continue to explain the world by reference to the gods. Thales' intellectual predecessors had invoked supernature in order to explain nature. But if the gods were to be explanatory devices for accounting for phenomena, then there was nothing to prevent the most vicious inequalities from arising in society. Where gods are used to account for nature, a certain degree of sodal power is inevitable. And where priests have wielded political power, it is not only explanations of natural phenomena which have been bemused with theology. Theological explanations for social phenomena have also been encouraged. With the priests securely installed as the only authorized popularizers of the divine will, the only persons fitted by calling and by grace to expound mystical purposes, social inequalities arise to fortify
Have we lost you?
Is Brother Pigeon there?
I think we've lost him.
He has muted, but he's there. Yeah.
Okay, well, I can
Brother
finish
Pigeon,
it.
you meant to unmute
Till he's
yourself.
back.
Yeah, maybe you're
Okay,
muted by error.
can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yep, we can
Yes,
now.
yes.
Yeah,
I think you
sorry
got
for
muted
that.
by error. Yeah.
Do you want me to finish it?
Kindly proceed, Sister.
Yeah.
Social inequalities arise to fortify their exclusive role, and since their power is thought of as being rooted in the divine will, it becomes hard to contest. It therefore assumes the form of a authoritism, which, if unhindered, can come to revel in the most extreme opposition. The history of societies in which priests have wielded political power abundantly illustrates this tendency.
Thank you, Sister Ida. So that was our reading in our previous class, and that's where we are coming from. So this is actually a continuation of that reading in the previous class. And now the continuation starts with the paragraph highlighted below, which, DJ Mr. P, you can read for us that paragraph.
Yes, my brother, no problem. Thank you. In the particular case of Greek societies, however, certain qualifications need to be made. The early Greeks, without doubt, had a religion. This religion was distinguished by its lack of an established creed. Nevertheless, the Greek priests enjoyed social political power by which they could, among other things, institute action at court on charges of irreligion. This alone was a power which could be translated into political terms even as late as during the trial of Socrates.
Thank you for that. So this is the paragraph all ask members and us to share our thinking. What are we saying, or what's your thinking in regards to this paragraph? Now that I've tied the previous paragraph with this, you can be able also maybe to continue, tie your thinking in regards to the first paragraph I've read before, which was the last class, but tie it to this class today, which is the first paragraph. Once you are done with going around for members to share their thinking, we'll continue with the discussion and the reading as well. So I want to call upon members present here. If I call your name, you can share with us. How do you get this? What's your thinking in regards to the text here? And probably how does it relate to, you can relate it probably to African context of our struggle for liberation and unification. Brother Everton?
Right, spending rules. The first promise on the card. Wood, he said, is a bedrock.
Okay, sorry for that. Brother Everton, if you want to discuss or share your thinking in regards to this, kindly unmute yourself and proceed.
Yeah, good evening. I've just joined and I've got something going on indoors. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So let's start with Sister Ida. Having helped me in reading the past paragraph and now this one, what's your thinking? You can build on what you shared last time because they're continuation.
It talks about that the religion was distinguished by its lack of established creed. So I presume at that time there weren't things like Bibles or written things. But it was still considered to be a religion. So whether it was distinguished by the way people dressed, but it says that the priests enjoyed a social political power. So I presume that it's their dressing, it's the fact that they're part of whatever sort of parliament there is, lawmakers. And they could bring people to court. They could have put charges of, I don't know what irreligion means, but I presume that people aren't behaving themselves in the way that they feel their religion should be behaved in. And it translated into political terms, even as late as the trial of Socrates. Well, I'm sorry, my history is not good enough to tell you about Socrates. I just know that he existed and was a Greek. Ooh, maybe he was a philosopher, I think. So they obviously put him to trial. Apart from that, it's just really talking about what was going on in Greek society at the time. So I presume that they were the more dominant society. So that would be my take of this reading. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's hear other members. let me get to DJ Mr. P. You also helped me reading. So let's start with you also as we move along to other members.
Okay, brother, thank you. I really see this as a continuation of last week. These so-called high priests, these religious leaders or religious figures were the authority of the day. They had the power. They had the the authority. They had the power. They had the authority. They were the know-it-alls of the time that everybody bowed down to, and they were the guys in charge. They were the main men, the key people in society that everybody looked to for almost everything. That's what I get from that paragraph.
Thank you. Brother January, welcome, Sister Tapua. You've joined us a bit late, but we are reading the paragraph. Sister Myra, Sister Nancy Wright, we are reading the paragraph highlighted here, and is a continuation of the previous paragraph we had in our last class, where we explaining the power of the priesthood or the priest in relation to how the actions are in the Greek society. So that's a continuation which is now highlighted in the yellow here. So the yellow highlight is where we are actually discussing and sharing our thinking. So feel free to read what is highlighted in yellow, which is very brief, and come in anytime to share your thinking with us on what do you think about that, and how can you maybe put into context in African struggle and liberation, or even what's going on here in Africa, because the basis of this study is to help us actually have knowledge to liberate, unify, and develop Africa. So, Brother January?
Oh, thank you for giving me this time. My reflection on this topic is I'm trying to look at the political system and the religion. Of course, that is something which goes together in most of our African government. I've seen that the political part and the religious part goes together. And by looking at this paragraph, referring to the Greek society and being the people who colonized Africa, it is making me to realize that religion really played a bigger role in influencing the political, or in shaping the political environment, especially they used it as a tool to make sure that they're able to influence decision. Looking at the history, we know that when these people came, they came with the religion, and then they opened their schools and try to teach people what they actually think that can influence change within the sport. As for me, I see that it is actually the tool which is used to make Africa not to think in the normal way, because there is a combination of power and religion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kuma, for sharing your thinking with us. As you say, we allow each person to share their thinking in regards to how they think. So we don't limit you to your thinking, but also we allow you to have a space to share what you think in regards to the text. So let me move along. Brother Joseph, I know Sister Myra and Sister Tapua said that they might not be able to share their thinking, but they are tuning in and listening to our conversation. So, Brother Joseph?
Yeah, I think good evening, good night to everyone. Good morning if there's a good morning here too. In terms of my contribution to this week's text, I think we need to pay attention to a few key words. One of it is religion, and one of it is when also there was no established text. If you understand what religion, ready from the verb in the Greek, it means to bind, to bind. So we are told here that the Greek religion, while being congregational, it wasn't something that was, they didn't have a text that dictate. To me, it was more fluid, like how Hinduism, what we know of Hinduism today, there are many branches of Hinduism, there's no one, and people just added on. I mean, they were free to practice, to do what they want, to practice their belief and so on, without any prescription from above. It's also important to understand the role of religion in terms of how it, and see how religion have shaped the modern world. We have to remember that the Pope, who had enormous power, once the Europeans started to roam the world and they had the conflict, the Pope ruled all the land on this side belongs to Portugal, all the land on that side of the equator belongs to Spain. And we have seen that have had an almost eternal effect on life for everyone, including the planet. So religion has had its thing on people, but also we have to look at it deeper, I would think, in terms of how power, how the exercise of control have evolved from the mere belief, from the belief to concrete, practical science. I mean, so that today you can't just come and explain something via some spiritual or somewhere. You have to come scientific for it to make sense. And I think that's the evolution, that's the trajectory we're on as a world. Of course, it is important for us to return to the cosmic universal concept which Africans have had, and which I think the teaching of Kwame, try to expose, like you begin not with the individual, but you begin with the universe. And I think while that is not the only philosophy that have that, Kwame is not the only one, but that is a more safer departure point if you want to make meaning or understanding of our world in terms of responding to the needs at this moment, which is the unification, the development, and the liberation of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Joseph. Thank you very much. Sister Pamela, kindly share your thinking before you exit, please. And thank you for attending or joining us.
Brother Kwame, I've literally just come on. I've not even had time to read the text or anything like that. So I know I do it every week, but if you don't mind, I will listen, please.
Thank you. It's Brother Pigeon speaking.
Oh, it's Brother Kwame. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you, sister.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me go through the list. So Sister Tapua is not able to speak. Sister Nancy is also saying she's not in a position to speak, and Sister Myra as well. But if you get any space to speak, or you can even share your thinking in the chat, because you have the chat space. If you are not able to share loudly your thinking in where you are, feel free to text what you think in the chat so that you can also have the conversation, or actually highlight your thinking in the chat. So thank you very much. So other members have joined, and I think I'll give them time a bit to also read whatever we are going through and to be able to share their thinking. So for the purpose and for the benefit of the new members who have joined us, permit me to actually stress on what you are reading today. We are reading the paragraph highlighted here, and I like to try the reading again as I share my thinking, then allows Brother Kwame to share his thinking. Then I can come back to members present who want to still share their thinking in the paragraph before we move to the next paragraph. So the paragraph in the previous class starts by where it says, there was consequently no need to continue to explain the world by reference to the gods. Thales' intellectual predecessors had invoked supernature. I'm reading the paragraph that's not highlighted, a paragraph above the highlighted paragraph, just immediately. So Thales' intellectual predecessors had invoked supernature in order to explain nature. But if the gods were to be explanatory devices for accounting for phenomena, then there was nothing to prevent the most vicious inequalities from arising in society. Where gods are used to account for nature, a certain degree of sacerdotal power is inevitable. And where priests have wielded political power, it is not only explanations of natural phenomena which have been bemused with theology. Theological explanations for social phenomena have also been encouraged. With the priests securely installed as the only authorized popularizers of the divine will, the only persons fitted by calling and by grace to expound mystic purposes, social inequalities arise to fortify their exclusive role. And since their power is thought of as being rooted in the divine will, it becomes hard to contest. It therefore assumes the form of an authoritarianism, which, if unhindered, can come to revel in the most extreme oppression. The history of societies in which priests have wielded political power abundantly illustrate this tendency. Now, our paragraph today, starting the related paragraph, it says, in particular case of Greek societies, however, certain qualifications need to be made. The early Greeks, without doubt, had a religion. This religion was distinguished by its lack of established creed. Nevertheless, the Greek priests enjoyed socio-political power, by which they could, among other things, institute actions at a court on charges of irreligion. This alone was a power which could be translated into political terms, even as late as during the trial of the Socrates or Socrates. So my thinking in regards to this is that I think in the first paragraph, in the first chapter, Nkrumah was actually trying to explain how the universe came to be, our cosmic raw material, what is it composed of? And there were two main either philosophy ideologies, which is materialism and idealism. Those who are either theological or spiritual, whatever, either in the religion aspect, believe that our universe is made up of spirits and ideas, supernatural power somewhere controlling the universe. While those who take contrary opinion believe that the universe is made up of matter, it's natural. And when we ended up that chapter, the last sentence was, our universe is a natural universe. Everything else moves as per the laws of nature. And its basic principle or its basic principle is matter. So then those who believe now, where Thales is actually a philosopher who advanced or advocated for materialism position, unlike Barclays, who actually advocate for idealist position. So Thales is going extra mile to try to actually get through how that idealism or the power within the priest has been used to control the society. Because this chapter now talks about philosophy and society. So how has this actually play in our normal societies, leave alone even the Greek society, which is just an example. But in our society, even as a people, when Nkrumah brings this, he tries also to bring it back to our society, which can be the old society or even the current society, the modern society. And this then comes to the aspect, because before, as we started this chapter, there's where they said that Thales made two great revolutions. And the first revolution was when he tried to explain nature in terms of nature. That everything that happened in this universe can be explained either scientifically and through all natural processes that takes place. And you see, materialist position assumes both what you call ideological concepts, what you call conceptual tools like what you call logical tools and scientific tools, either constructionism, reductionism, and idealism. So Thales is trying to explain how, at this particular juncture, how that priesthood power has actually influenced society. And for the purpose of us as a class trying to study this philosophy in order to liberate, unify Africa, how then do we react to these powers? Because in reality, up to date, there are still societies where the power of the speeches or the opinion of pastors and the priests still hold a lot of weight. And that's why Nkrumah advised in the first paragraph of having analyzed the idealist position that a state should be secular. There's no state in Africa or anywhere else that should be religious state, either accepting one religion vis-a-vis another religion. He came to a conclusion that the state should be secular. So let's see how now the theologists or the priests have used their power actually to control our society. And let's look at the current context today. So many people who are either become leaders of Africa will go to church, they kneel down, they be prayed for, and then the pastors can say, these are God's chosen person. And to their theology or their narratives, that a leader is chosen by God. So one, the leaders might use the political, the priesthood power to be elected by the people by actually treating like they are God-chosen people, like what happened in Kenya in the previous election, where President Ruto actually came in as the religious person, and the opposition was seen like a Satan or devil, or people who are worshiping satanic issues. And then all the congregants in the church followed the priest's position and voted such a leader. So that's one way on how most of the political leaders or leadership in Africa actually is influenced by the priesthood so-called divine will. But also look at it. When such leaders fail, for example, to unite or develop Africa, the excuse can still be found in the same religion and in the Bible that we cannot challenge he who is chosen by God. So he's chosen by God, and everything that happens is by the God's wish or by the spirits of the divine will. Then this actually makes us suffer without question or querying. So I think here Nkrumah is trying to expose us to how such power might be abused or misused in order to continue actually bringing this principle of either authoritarianism and exploitation of a community or a society based on spiritual or ideally or what you call the domain will or the so-called the will of Christ and then. So to me, that's what I'm thinking this direction going to. So that in order to liberate Africa, we need to actually liberate our society from such so-called priesthood or powers that then give them unquestionable position. We need to question what goes on in our society, and we need to act without being interfered with so-called thinking. So thank you for that. I know I might have spoken so long, but that's my thinking in regards to this. So let me allow, before I go to Brother Kwame to share his thinking, and more members who have joined, let me allow Brother Joseph to share his thinking. So members of join here, if you feel you can share your thinking, just raise up your hand so that I can give you opportunity, or I'll call on your name. Brother Joseph?
Yeah, I think an example of how religion is used either to its own effort or by the powers that be to structure the society. During slavery, by and large in the Caribbean, religion was not something that the enslaved were supposed to engage with because they were not considered quite human. On the other hand, the colonizers used the religion as a justification for the enslavement of the enslaved. What happened? At the time emancipation came, though, it was flipped. It was decided then, okay, we have to find a way. We're taking off the chains on the foot. We need to put it on the head. And as I think what Brother Carrington said the other day, one of the things that gave some people advantage was that the development of the printing press. So you had the Bible being translated. And it was thought that if you get these people to think in a certain way, and I suppose a similar thing happened with the colonization of Africa, but don't forget we had both enslavement and then colonization in our parts. And of course, we know about neocolonialism and imperialism. So, and these systems always use religion. I could tell you also at the invasion of Grenada, as part of the package of the invading forces came the fundamentalists. And Grenada is very, very, in a way, problematic in the sense that people are hyper-religious, like you see in Kenya and other places where, I mean, God and religion is used as a means to prop up or to, or to give advantage to those who maybe have more sway with money and so on. And it plays out still, finally, to complement what Brother Pigeon said about liberating ourselves from the vestiges of religion. Up to today, for the Catholic Church, for instance, and the Anglican Church in particular, they hold a great sway over our people. In many ways, every official function that happens, it is expected to have one of them to officiate it, to bless it, to give it sanction. So it's very much in place. And the minute time you challenge that kind of role they have, they're saying, well, you anti-God and you anti-Satanist, you communist and whatever. I just thought I would add that to broaden the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Elder Joseph. Let me go along and check members who have joined. Oh, Sister Ida, please come in.
Yes, I was going to say, to add to what Brother Joseph is saying, a lot of established religions are part of Parliament, like the Anglican and Catholic, and not so much the Catholic, because in England, Catholic is at one point wasn't allowed, I think, after Cromwell. But the Anglicans have a space in the House of Lords. And so they're given, nobody votes them, but they're given seats within Parliament.
When you say boy.
Sorry? Yeah, Brother Glenroy, who is often in Parliament, will tell us. But it's one of those things that happens. And I think it's not just in this country, it's in a lot of countries around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. So let's go to members of journals. Let me check. When I call your name, just let me know if you can speak or I should pass. Dr. Maha. Dr. Maha, are you in a position to speak? Or you are attending to some patients? I can pass. Okay. Yes, I see another hand up. Let me check. Yes, Dr. Maha, come and mute yourself and share your thinking with us. Dr. Maha, just unmute yourself. Maybe it's not.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Maha.
Good evening. Sorry, I have joined a bit late.
Yes, Dr. Maha. Okay. Try to work on your audio, then come back. Let me go to the next person who joined us. Brother Everton, are you able to share something, or you still want to listen to the conversation? Just let me know. Brother Everton, are you able to come in? Share your thinking, maybe. Okay, let me go to the next person. Elder Glenn, I know you've joined now. We are reading the paragraph that's highlighted on the power of the priesthood and how it's influenced the society, affect the society. Are you able to share something in regards to that, or we give you time?
I did read some of it earlier on, but I would rather hear the conversation, see how going before I attempt to join. But I will hopefully make some contribution later on.
Okay, thank you. So Sister Tapua is still held up. If she's able to share something, Pamela and Sister, all the sisters it's really sad. All the sisters are somehow held up, not able to share something. But I request that please text it on the chat. You can be able to do something on the chat. So please use that chat box so that you can share something with us. Let me get to Brother Kwame. Brother Kwame, are you able to come in and share your thinking in regards to the text, please? Oh, Sister Tapua want to share something. So I'm going to go to Sister Tapua first. Sister Tapua.
I found it really interesting because I've, in my mind, the picture of the morality police in, is it Iran, Iraq? One of those areas where I've been taken aback by having those people in the street, enforcing religious beliefs. But in our situation, I think it's, particularly in Zimbabwe, the church is now holding such sway because people have tried to use the political route to change their lives, and they seem to, the experience has been negative, but people are feeling the impact of just being ignored as a population, and things are hard, and people are reverting to the church for everything, to such an extent that I am so worried people are just giving up their power to the church, to say someone from somewhere up there is going to come and rescue us. And it gives me, remember China banned religion at some point, which gave them the space to kind of get people weaned off the church. But when it was appropriate, they started bringing it back. I'm just wishing there was a way people could do that. In this country, things are so desperate. People are buying bricks and putting them under their beds because they're hoping it's going to be a car or a house or something like that. And it's really, really worries me. And especially when, like someone has said, the political figures will go to the church, convince the church to lay hands on them, and then people just think, that's God who's spoken. Now we must go and vote for these people. I'm lost. I'm really desperate that something needs to be done. But what is the question? Anyway, I will stop for now.
Thank you, Sister Tapua. Thank you for sharing your thinking with us. It is a serious concern to us. But Brother Kwame, can you share your thinking with us if you are able?
Yeah, thank you. Sister Sapua should not be worried. Yes, she's right to be concerned. I don't think she should be worried. And I also don't think that the solution is in banning religion, as the Chinese did. Because let's remember that the recourse to God's as explanatory devices are also because of the level of education. So, hold on.
Okay. Let's give Brother Kwame some time to come in and share his thinking. Sorry for the interference a bit, but let's allow him.
Yeah, I think it's the tannoy on the train that he's on, so he didn't want to be talking while the tannoy was going. So he'll probably come straight back unless he's getting off the train.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that DJP, you are right. So
thank you.
So let's understand why the poor resort to religion or the gods as explanatory devices. And the reason is that they do not have access to the scientific explanation of the universe. And because they have no access to the scientific explanation, that is why they resort to those devices. At the same time, let's remember that as Africans, we do not believe that you can explain everything by reference only to the what you might call the strictly physical forces. That when something happens, apart from physical forces, there are also I use the word physical, not materialists, because as you know, we see
Overcome your problem. You're frozen a bit,
as
Brother
matter.
Kwame.
So it's not that Africans accept materialism. All right? There's
You are
nothing I
frozen
can
a
do,
bit.
brother. I'm on the train. So
Yeah, no problem.
it is what
Proceed.
it is. And I'm saying there's nothing I can do. There's
Yeah,
nothing I can do.
just
And
proceed.
I'm getting off the train in a few minutes.
Just
And then
proceed.
when I get home, I can join properly and I can talk without interference. So let's remember. So for instance, if there's an accident, yeah, for the African, yes, the cause of the accident has roots in the vehicle as a physical thing. But there is also another dimension, which you might call psychological or if you're non-physical, that also has something to do with it. For example, it could be that the driver had problems and so wasn't concentrating on the road. So it's not that the vehicle had a fault, it's just that the driver had problems and couldn't focus on the road. So what I'm trying to say is that for the African, you can't pin down causation always to physical forces. Yeah. So notice I'm not saying materialist forces. And so that is why, as conscientism, we are not against um, the idealist position that spirits and ideas also explain the things in our universe. What we do say, however, is that spirits and ideas are not primary, and that whatever we see in the universe has roots in categorical conversion, because the reason that rice is cooked is because it goes through a categorical conversion process. When you apply heat to the pan in which the rice is, it undergoes a conversion from a category which is uncooked rice to cooked rice. So that is an example. So the problem is not that as Africans we are religious, or that we have that understanding. The problem is that the scientific explanation was stolen, and we've gone through how it was stolen and all that. But then when it has been restored to some extent, how was it restored? It was restored through our own people sending their children to school so that they will go and learn the scientific knowledge that was brought by the imperialists, if you like. The problem is that a lot of those who have access to that education, and here I'm referring to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, have privatized this knowledge. In other words, they're not using the knowledge for the liberation of our people. That is what the problem is. So our people then, although they have financed the education of their own children, the children themselves are not even using the knowledge for the purposes for which they were sent to school. And I'll pause here because I have to get off the train. I will join when I get home. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Brother Joseph, let's get your thinking before we move to the next paragraph. Yes, Brother Joseph?
Yeah, I think the current paragraph, provide the opportunity to really think deeply and see how much we are even part of the problem these days. Don't forget that in spite of who Robert Mugabe was, that he used to go to Rome on a regular basis to get his sanction from the Pope. Also, we have to remember that religion is a very potent agency right now, a potent force. It contributed to the change in the leadership in Iran in 1979. In the Philippines, the Catholic Church played a big role in how eventually Marcos was overthrown, although his son is back in the palace. So having an understanding how, and the thing about the religion have never went away totally, because it was just thought that they just split the roles, the functions. Religion continued to play one role of sanctioning, or remember the Inquisition in the Americas, where people were tried and so on and treated in heinous ways. So it has always been there, and unless we really find a way to really minimize the function, and the imperialists is always trying to, we've seen that they tried in China with Chikungunya, that group that emerged in China, that religious group, whatever their name was, and also in other parts where well, even in the former Soviet Union after the collapse, that there was a thrust to restore the Russian Orthodox Church as much as possible, and also to evangelize from outside. The fundamentalists went and still are going to Russia. So there is always an attempt. And don't forget, and I'm ending here, that part of the way to ensure that the ex-enslaved remain faithful to the colonizers and the enslavers is that the church schools were established. Most of the schools in the Caribbean were started by religious people, whether it's the Moravian in Jamaica, or the Catholics in Grenada, or the Anglicans in Barbados, and the Presbyterians in Trinidad and Tobago. It was, they played a big role in ensuring that there was just a moderation of the way of living, just a slight, and the acceptance of imperial rule. I just thought that it's necessary to underscore that. So it's still playing a role, and it is set point on the biggest state in the world, or the biggest country in the world, is the Catholic Church, based on the number of people that have allegiance to the Catholic Church, Roman, at the end of the day. Thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to move to the next paragraph. Sister, can you come in?
I was going to say, and again, it wasn't necessary following Brother Joseph, but he's mentioned it. The fact that a lot of the big established churches have a lot of land. I mean, they're probably part of the people who have the most and still have the most land all over the world, and therefore their is it link or establishment is there, and they can move it from one place to another. But their land, when you have land, it's like you have wealth. So their wealth is there, and it continues to be there. So thank you.
So thank you. Let's tie this conversation as we take to the next paragraph. And after we read the next paragraph, I'll start by members who have not contributed to come in, because this is a continuous paragraph and a continuous conversation. So as we proceed along, it says, and I'll refresh or repeat the paragraph we are reading, then tie to the next paragraph, and then we continue the sharing of our thinking, starting with the people who haven't been able to speak. So let me reread the paragraph. It says that in particular case of Greek society, however, certain qualifications need to be made. And it says the early Greeks, without doubt, had a religion. This religion was distinguished by its lack of an established creed. Nevertheless, the Greek priests enjoyed social political power, by which they could, among other things, institute actions at court on charges of irreligion. This alone was a power which could be translated into political terms as even as late as during the trial of Socrates. The Greek, now in the next paragraph that you have to share thinking to, is the Greek religion was congregational. This fact helped to consolidate priestly power. For when rites are performed communally and not individually, in order that a small farming community should be ensured by the gods against drought and famine, the priest is encouraged to come down heavily on individuals who by their irreligion endangers the community or the state. And this was true with the Greeks. It was as their religion became less congregational and more individual that the power of the priest, already implicitly queered by the new philosophy, diminished significantly. The rise of the mercantile class, with its dependence on mechanical arts rather than religious ritual, tended to reduce the social relevance of priests and encourage the individualization of Greek religion. It was this growing irrelevance of the priest which Thales or Thales emphasized by dispensing with the gods altogether as source of explanations of natural or social phenomena. So feel free to share your thinking in tying all this conversation. And I'll start with Brother Glenn. Now you can share your thinking with us. Brother Glenn?
Thank you. I'm more drawn to the conversation of how religion impact on African people. And I know we're reading about the Greek society. But it seems to me one of the crossover or related philosophical approaches our belief in spirituality. I think that made us prepared for being introduced to other religion. I don't think it was very strongly imposed in African society. It was very much individualism, and that made other introduction or other suggestion of other types of religion, I think, more easy to introduce. In other words, I think that our society and its freedom made religion, external religion, much easier to I'm not sure it's the right word, but implant within African society. I'll leave it there, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have analyzed a bit, and when you talk of religion here, maybe you talk about external religion, probably, which is out of African spirituality. Of course, things like Christianity and Islam and the rest. And we've known, of course, the history of such introduction of such religion. For example, some of us or we know how actually the Arab invasion in Africa, in order to spread their religious activity was, and how forceful or the distractions or the impact that it caused to our people and still cause to our people up to date. We've also did actually a session on checking on how Christianity, through what you call the papal bull of Pope Nicholas II in 1452, which we call the doctrine of discovery, how it was choreographed, and actually it was very simple in an instruction that go out and actually attack or take over anybody who is non-Christian, so-called pagans. So the aspect of referring to Africans as pagans basically meant that we never knew anything, but in reality there was practice of some aspect of spirituality, and that's why Brother Kwame says that we as a consciousness study group actually take the middle ground in terms of the approach of the two opposing sides. The two opposing sides are the pure idealists and pure materialists. But we, as a consciousness study group, believe this, yes, existence of spirits and existence of ideas, but they are not the only thing that exists, and neither are they the original thing that exists. We believe that the original thing, our position as a class, is that matter existed. And then from matter, you could get the spirits, ideas, or anything else that come after through what Brother Kwame say, categorical conversion, and through dialectics and all those other aspects, either as a derivative form. So that's very important to highlight. And yes, as I'm seeing, the Greek history comes in to look at the Greek society and more of to compare with our society, in current society or our old society, because this is philosophy of society. So looking at Greek society, we can still find some similarity with what's going on currently. But let me allow other members to come in as well. Sister Joan Kimani.
Hey everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. My point, for the colonizers to come in, they had as Africans, we are very spiritual. So for them to come in, they had to find a way to prevent us from being spiritual. And that is why they introduced a religion. That is why missionaries came first. And it was the only way. It was like, it will make it easier for them to come in. And from that, that is why they made things like in Kenya, there's a witchcraft act that is against that comes against our shamans. Yeah, that was a way, and that is why until now the religion and the religious leaders are against the people who practice spirituality traditionally.
Sister Joan, I know you are a lawyer, of course, in Kenya. You mean that there's a law that denies what they call witchcraft, which is actually our spirituality in one way or the other? Because people tend to condemn witchcraft as evil. I don't know, but you can either on that.
Yeah, there's an actual act. It's called the Witchcraft Act, and it was made by the colonizer because it's old. It hasn't even been amended. There's one.
That is interesting. We need to look at it maybe in our future engagement. Feel free to share it with us, probably. Yes, let me get to, I see 2 hands up, but I'll be going also to other members who haven't shared their thinking. I recognize the hand of Brother Gleroy and Brother Joseph. But let me get to Brother Gleroy who spoke before, in case you want to come back to his
yeah, I just wanted to say that, what I'm trying to say, it's not necessarily a scientific position, but spirituality made us a more fertile victims, if you like, because it was too loosely based. But on the issue of European laws that we've kept on our books after so-called independence, flags and anthem, you will find, not clear on the research, my sister, but you'll find there's a number of other countries other than Kenya that have these laws still on their books. And there need to be a research to challenge where it is. One of the things we did here with the Church of England and their attempt to put a price on their enslavement of African people was we made it clear that their effort of the Church of England and other church to eradicate African spirituality needed to be addressed as well. So it's not just about you saying, we're going to pay you so much compensation. How are you going to undo all the harm that you've done around African spirituality? But I just wanted to generate some views on whether we were more susceptible to this introduction of another religion because of our spirituality. It may be completely farcical. I'm just throwing that out there. I get the impression that it was. But yeah, let's do some research on how many nations on the continent or in the Caribbean have these laws that's basically against spirituality.
Thank you, Brother Larry. I'll call upon Sister Pamela, Sister Nancy, or Sister Maida. Any of you who wish to share something, either by audio or via text, please feel free to share it with us. I know you indicated that you're listening, but if you're able to share something via audio or via text, please just feel free to raise up your hand and I'll call on you. Let me get to Dr. Maha. I'll come back to you, Brother Joseph, but let me get to Dr. Maha. You were speaking before. Can you come in now? Your audio was not that stable enough. Dr. Maha? Dr. Maha? Okay. Well, let me get... Yes, Dr. Maha, I can hear you.
I think network issues, but members have said a lot. And I think the issue of... I'm looking for the right words to put it. But I feel a lot was pushed on us, on Africans, against the African spirituality. But in the context of what you've highlighted about, let me get back to you shortly.
Okay, thank you. I'd like us to also speak to the text here, because it's very important, first of all, to share your thinking on the text. then now relate it to whatever aspect you want to relate it. So kindly, when you speak, try to comment on the text, either a paragraph on a text or something within the text that you want to expound on. Then now we go to general conversation. So basically, we encourage what you call application of the text to current situation as a second priority after you share your thinking on the text. So feel free to quote part of the text or try to expound on part of the text as the initial contribution, then you can now relate it to the current context of what's going on in Africa. Brother Joseph, then I'll go to DJ Mr. P, and then Sister Chapua. Brother Joseph?
Yeah, yes, I hope I'm not inconsistent with what you just requested, but just to follow up on Brother Glenroy question about other territories or other countries where there's the law against the practice of indigenous or African religion. We have in the Caribbean, Grenada is one of those, and so both St. Lucia. I think only 2 countries, and maybe Guyana is one, another one, but only 2 countries I know made a concerted effort. Apart from Haiti, Haiti made a voodoo an official religion, one of the religion of Haiti. But in the case of Trinidad and Tobago, and it was an Indian-based government, an East Indian government based that did something positive for the Africans, where they established spiritual Baptist day. I mean, the religion, recognized religion, and there's a day that is given in honor of the African religion as practiced by the folks in Trinidad. And I think some laws was removed from the books. In St. Vincent, there was also an attempt by, when you had James Mitchell, he played a big role in allowing the spiritual Baptists there to flourish, I mean, to come to the fore and have a say, even be able to be heard on the national station. In Grenada, we have not been so progressive, even though we are one of the people that has the more potent element of, along with Jamaica, Cuba, and so on, potent and tendency of. In fact, we exported some of the African practices to Trinidad, but because of the colonial and imperialist domination here or involvement, we are very confused people. And then in terms of explaining a little how our people, I mean African people, where they are, use religion as a means to deal with some of the economic situation, people may not know, but the Pentecostal movement was started by African people, an African American in Los Angeles in 1906, when the condition of the African people there, and also working class white, was so dire that a movement came out of that. But what happened sooner than later, it was taken over by other people and advanced for other reasons. So even now we have Pentecostalism all over the world, but acting against the very people who started it. Thanks.
Thank you for actually giving the current status of what's going on in terms of religion and its impact in the society. We are still sharing our thinking, and what we request is to share your thinking in regard to the text. So we allow you to share your thinking in the practical aspect of what is the current situation, but we encourage that you start by sharing your thinking in regards to how do you understand this text, and what is your thinking in regards to what the text emphasizes. I know it's a plain thing in terms of discussing the role of religion and everything else, but can you try to share thinking? How do you understand the text, and then try to relate it to the current setup? So, DJ Mr. P.
Yeah, my brother. I'm gonna actually pass. Okay. Yeah, if I may. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Sister Tapua, is a continuation of our conversation. Are you feeling that there's something you can add on now that you've read the next paragraph, or you okay?
I will pass for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Brother Coco. Thank you for joining us. Elder Edward or Comrade Edward, Brother Edward, are you able, Brother Everton, are you able not to share something, having discussed on 3 paragraphs before?
Yeah, greetings. Yeah, I'd just like to probably touch on the social political power that the priests enjoyed. So, and I see that as a part of even modern day society where you have the church and the state, the two controlling powers, because no matter how it was, certain people had certain influence. So even into these days, we see hierarchies in the church, and it follows through. Must remind people that, you know, when it came to Christianity within our people, I can't remember which pope said it, but he said, Christianize them or kill them. And no matter how spiritual you are, you will fear death. So people was forced into it. You didn't show up at Sunday services. Yeah, you was pointed out and you'd probably be made a worse example of. So it goes back a long way, and it's evolved. The control of power is evolved with religion and the state. The Queen of England was head of the Anglican Church. The King now tries to redefine himself as master of all the faiths or some words like that. So we do see where it overlaps even in modern society, but it's come a long way. Thank you.
Elder Joseph. Let's go through the list again. Anybody want to speak? Can you come in? Brother Coco, you can share your thinking.
Brother Pigeon, you seem to have locked the reading, and we can't go. Could you let us go up, please?
Okay. Do you want us to go up to the previous paragraph or the current paragraph?
The one we just thank you, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the Greek religion, that's where we are discussing. So
yeah,
let me get. Oh, welcome, Sister Ida. Brother Coco, nice to see you again. Welcome. We've been conversing on those paragraphs in regards to Greek, of course, religion and all aspects. I think I shared this text with you. Are you able to share something in regards to that, or you need some time? And welcome back after some period of time.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Yeah, as you know, I was traveling in Africa, and I went via Nairobi. I saw Comrade Pigbin in Nairobi in his element. So yeah,
pleasure to have you around. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. What we are reading here is important. You might be asking yourself, why is Osagio for Dr. Nkrumah focusing on the priests or religion when we're talking about philosophy? It's because of the importance that religion plays in or played back then, before philosophy took over from it. And in this case, we can see how the Greek priests then were unchallenged. They sort of had power, which was rooted in divinity. That's what he calls it. And it's more or less like what happens in the society today. But Brother Everton rightly said it's the same even here, where we live in England. If you read, there is the Greek economist Varoufakis, isn't it? Yeah, Yanis Varoufakis, who was a Greek finance minister during when they had trouble with the IMF. He refused to sign the deal because he said, I cannot burden people who are already under so much stress. But he said, religion is tied with the monarchy, is tied with whoever is in power. And those who are in power usually give the priests something. But you can imagine in a society where the monarchy or the rulers were also priests. This gives that, that glimpse of how powerful the priests really are. Because people just think gods, they think God, they think, you know what? These guys are powerful. We cannot challenge them. They are the only ones who know how to interpret the law, who know how to communicate with, the gods, who communicate with God. And he's putting it there for us to think, is that really how it's supposed to be? Or should we start thinking and seeing that it changed from the priest being the most powerful to a society now moving to where the priest was challenged? And again, there is an important element here about congregation. And with congregation, you have to think about what we see in Africa. In Africa, we are communalist. And by communalist is that we look after each other. And if the priest comes in Africa, in our society, then we sort of take him in. He becomes part of us. And once you become part of the furniture, it's very difficult to dislodge. And hence, that's how the priests, that's how religion got even more powerful in Africa, because we made it part of our daily life. We made it part and parcel of how we think. But look how, when people start moving to individualism, that people challenge religion easily. They challenge the priests. They challenge all of that. I think that is the message he's trying to say. You need to think outside the box. Don't just think about today, think about tomorrow, think about all the 5 points, 5 elements, 5 dynamics, all the different elements. Look at what they do in other countries. Look at what they do in your own countries, or your forefathers used to do. Don't just remain glued or remain boxed in. Always think outside the box. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Coco. Anybody who want to share their thinking still, you can come in. Permit me to try to interrogate some sections of this as we continue this conversation. This first sentence in this paragraph says that the Greek religion, no, the second sentence says that the facts help to consolidate the priest power. For when rites are performed communally and not individually, in order that a small farming community should be ensured by the gods against the drought and famine, the priest is encouraged to come down heavily on individuals who by their irreligion endanger this community or the society. Is this what is even common in some of our current society, even today, where we tend to believe that because either somebody is not acting right within the society or even within the family, we think that might be the reason why either the family is not going well or the society is not going well, and therefore we had to invoke some extra powers to actually offer sacrifice and the rest to please the gods. You see, even in the context of African spirituality, there was still aspect that the gods had to be pleased, or the gods were not actually happy, and the community had to do something. So this is also something that we need actually to check on it critically, and whether when they talk of the religion moving from communally to individually, how about the context currently where we still meet in other churches or congregations every Sunday, which is more of like a communal meeting, despite, of course, every individual taking over their own religious burden? How about that? And that excuse, of course, of other things happening to the society as having been caused by the supernatural power, is it still an excuse being used today? For example, when there was flooding in Kenya here just recently and many people died, in fact, the rains have come back again, people will tend to say that, no, gods were hungry and that we have annoyed the gods and they are punishing us because some people will claim because of the morals of the society. Can that be true? Or can we just take in scientific aspects and say, no, it's a climate war, global warming thing, and we need to correct what is taken? Because if you take the aspect that it's gods who are angry or annoyed, then we'll have actually to take other aspects. We will not think of either planting trees or safeguarding our environment, but rather we'll think of how we continuously attend our churches to ask for forgiveness so that God can be pleased and maybe offer what we call our offerings to God. So that's also something that we need to see. How do we find a way in this and try to relate into what or how can we solve our current situation without actually putting much of the blames in either religious aspect or whether the people have annoyed the gods or something like that. But permit me to allow Brother Elder Joseph to come in. We still have around 30 minutes to end up our conversation. Elder Joseph, and anybody who want to come in, please feel free to come in, either via chat or by just asking for opportunity to share your thinking. I'll allow Brother Kwame to come in after Brother Joseph. Brother Kwame, we've read the first paragraph in highlighted, and you now go on to the second paragraph here, which is a continuation of the first paragraph, the paragraph below the highlighted paragraph. Yes, Brother Joseph, then Brother Kwame come in later.
Yeah. I think it's very important that we understand how the religion or religious influences weave with we are weaved within it. Even the language we use. So, and how much that we give away our sovereignty to those systems that are very, I mean, they're sort of shadowy, because we're told, for instance, that the Pope, for instance, is the representative of God, and he can bring down, whatever. And people go to Rome or they go to Jerusalem and so on for some kind of magic, or even to Mecca. So the role of religion that would continuously impede any movement of liberation or development or unification of Africa has to be examined. Recently, some folks were examining the issue of language, the issue of, as a factor in the unification of Africa. And I think we need to also, as we talk, as Pan-Africanists, how do we maintain the balance that where people are free to have some engagement from a spiritual point of view, but also that we do not ignore the scientific information that keep pouring out to us. The information that we have from a scientific point of view now, it can make the religious side or the spiritual side look, reduce it to nothing, but at the same time, it's because they're being imbalanced in terms of how the two working together. The two sides, because you cannot exist without spirit. Neither you can exist totally on matter. The both are necessary. I like to think about it being one rather than separate, You cannot get one with the other. So, but again, we need to keep on looking at how religion is used contemporary time. And you see it in Nigeria, you see it in Kenya, you see it, or you see it in Trinidad, you see it wherever among the African population in America, wherever. And it's always not to liberate, but to subjugate, to further close down people's awareness and to put them in a state that they do not want to face the reality that is confronting them. So the other thing I want to remind people that how we understand religion today is not necessarily how it was practiced then or how it emerged. We can see it now because there is philosophy have developed, so we can have a particularized, but religion was not separate from the rest of the society, whether it's from an African point of view or from a Greek or other people's point of view. It was part of the daily life. And because, as the meaning from the Greek says, is not to unite, but to bind, to bring together. And that's why when the word congregational used, you can see the agents working there. And don't forget that religion actually have since become an agency of political control, whether we like it or not. Thanks.
Thank you. Sister Ida, please come in before I go to Brother Kwame. And then Brother Kwame will take over the conversation from there till we end the class. Sister Ida?
I just wanted to say that I think Brother Coco had a big point that we haven't yet mentioned, and that the everyday like prayers and stuff, the fact that people are encouraged, religion is encouraged to be an everyday thing that people participate in, whether it's praying 5 times a day or just praying. It's the encouragement to continually delve into prayer, fasting, all those sorts of things that give a lot of religion its it gives it a power that we haven't really mentioned, because there is power in religious ways of doing things, and it's an everyday thing that I think Brother Coco said something about having to what did he say? Almost rise above, think, not just in a spiritual way. I think it was something in that way. I'm putting it in my own words, but so I just wanted to also put in, let us encourage us to think of the fact that religion is a binding thing for a lot of people. It's not just well, that's really what I'm trying to say. That's it. It's something that is very strong. Thank you.
Okay, Brother Kwame, kindly come in and maybe guide us towards the end of the class. In the next 25 minutes, we still remaining. Brother Kwame?
Yes, I haven't I've not really been part of the conversation today. So I didn't hear what a lot of people had to say. And I hope I'm clear. And what I was saying before I got off the train was contributing to what Sister Tapua had been saying. And I was saying that she was right to be concerned. And but not to be concerned to say that religion should be banned.
Kwame?
As far as Sister Ida's position,
Brother Kwame?
that it is strong as it is right.
We can't hear you, Brother Kwame.
We can't hear you. So can you work on your audio bit, then you can come in as we progress with the class, please. So audio bit, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I don't know how. I don't know when it went off. My apologies. I was trying to put my headphone in, and for some reason, where did I get to, brother Pigeon, when I was speaking?
Of course, your comments on reaction to what Sister Tapua actually contributed.
Exactly. Yeah,
Also, to guide you that we've discussed this paragraph below here and the paragraph you left us before, so you can maybe just say also your thinking in regard to both paragraphs.
Yeah. So, and I was saying that I wouldn't go as far as Sister Ida's position in terms of the power of religion. But yes, the religious institution does have a lot of power, and I think we need to acknowledge it. But for us, but as you know, there are those who are of the scientific position that do not accept the religious position. Having said that, let's also remember that the point about the priests, priests do not produce anything. They are not part of the labor force. Priests do not go to work, and they don't work in the conventional sense. Understand, where the working class, those who produce the wealth of society, those who produce the wealth of society are the workers. And they go to work in the morning, they come home in the evening, depending on what it is they are doing. And whatever they produce, they don't own. It's rather owned by, if you look at a feudal society, the wealth is owned by the landowners. And then in the capitalist society, the wealth is owned by the capitalists. It's only when workers control the land themselves that what they produce belongs to them. And that's the way it was in a lot of societies before the rise of capitalism, where we now have to sell our labor power in order to make a living. So let's be clear that the priestly class are a parasitic class. They are parasites in the sense that they live on the wealth that the workers have produced. And that's no different from the political class, who also are in a way a parasitic class, and no different from imperialists, who are also a parasitic class, meaning that they are parasites in the sense that they live on the wealth of ordinary people who go to work and produce and produce the wealth. So the problem for us as Pan-Africanists is not that we have a problem with the people who for them prayer is a solution to the difficulties and the hardships of life. Life is very hard for the majority of our people. Life is very, very hard. People will go to. So I come from Ghana. I can also come from Nigeria. As you know, my mother is from Nigeria. So people will go to Ghana, come back and say, "Wow, I've been to Ghana. Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, Ghana is progressing. Ghana is developing." So which part of Ghana did you go? Oh, Kumasi or Accra. That's all they've been to. Kumasi, Accra. That's all where they went. And for them, that is Ghana. For them, Accra is Ghana. And if you go to Accra and there's a new road, then suddenly Ghana is developed. But you go to the actual Ghana, which is and same in most African countries, we are just a series of connected villages. That's all it is, with big cities somewhere here and there. But the real Africa is a series of connected villages, most of which the roads are not tarred, they are dirt roads and so on. That is a reality. So our people are really suffering, and they have no access to scientific knowledge, because those who they send to school to acquire it, like me, live in the West, and so on and so forth. And that is a reality. And they have monopolized the knowledge. They've monopolized the scientific knowledge. They've monopolized the mathematical knowledge. They've monopolized the technological knowledge, and so on and so forth. So that is a reality. So in that sense, if they want explanations of their poverty, what is the reason for their poverty? Where do you expect them to go? So they go to the priests, because the priests somehow offer ready explanations that maybe they understand. So that is a reality. So what our people need is for the educated class, who have been educated by the same people my internet is going off again. So I don't know. I'm back, but I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
you're
can
back. You can proceed.
Yeah, there's a problem with the internet here. They've now blocked my private internet, so I'm forced to use the one that goes off and off. Anyway, so let's be empathetic with our people. Live among the people. But love them, love the people. Live among them, love them. Start with what they know and build on what they have. You see, so let's be empathetic with our people. Let us love our people. Let us understand where our people are. I am a mathematics teacher. If I teach and my students don't understand, I don't blame them for not understanding. Maybe it is me that didn't teach well. Or maybe it's a home they've come from that is not helping them to understand that mathematics is something that is important. You understand? But I can't start blaming the children for whatever reason, because they are not understanding what I'm teaching, or they're not accepting what I'm teaching. I need to find the reason why. So as scientists and logicians, we have to understand and look for the cause of a situation and try to understand and empathize with our people, so that we can help them. It's not the case that Africans don't like wealth, or majority of Africans don't want to live a good life, or that they don't want good roads, or they don't want their children to go to good schools. All human beings are the same, and Africans want the best for themselves, just like any group of people. The problem is that we have a problem, and the problem is neocolonialism. And unfortunately, some of our people are in bed with the neocolonial forces. That is a reality. And in such cases, given the huge poverty, they go into practices that helps them. So we are right to be concerned, but to go as far as banning it without offering a solution, I don't think is a solution. I'm not saying that anyone is suggesting that. I'm just saying that that is not a solution. Now, coming back to the paragraph we've been reading, which has been highlighted on the screen, the fundamental question there is, how are the priests using their power? Or using their power in that society, the Greek society? We can make parallels with today's society, and you notice in the last line of that paragraph goes to the heart of the problem. And for those of you who know a bit about Socrates, you will know that Socrates was a teacher of Plato, and Plato was very upset when Socrates was killed. Socrates was killed because he drank hemlock, he drank poison, and he didn't have to drink poison. Socrates could have run away. In fact, his students offered to help him to run away. He adamantly refused. He said he's not going anywhere. Why was Socrates a problem for the priestly class? Because Socrates was a philosopher. Yeah, Socrates was a philosopher. And for those who know, Socrates was also a mathematician. When Socrates wanted to explain the right angle triangle, or numbers, guess who he used to show that ordinary people can understand mathematics? He used slaves. So Greek society had slaves. And to illustrate that anybody can understand knowledge and have understanding of the laws of nature, he used slaves as an example. He will call a slave and then they will go through it. And then he will say that you can see, even the slaves understands what I'm saying. To prove that even slaves can have knowledge, the kind of knowledge that those who did no work. Remember, these are people who didn't work. They were all parasites living off the work of the slaves and the workers. And they claim to know so much. And Socrates proved that even the slaves, without going to school, he showed that. Those of you interested, I can point you out to some things to read if you are interested. And not only that, if you read George James, so what I am referring to you now is in what Plato wrote, which is in the history of mathematics, by the way. But if you are if you're interested in the history of Africans, as told by Africans, you can look at the book by the book Stolen Legacy by George James, where George James goes at length into why Socrates was targeted and why Socrates was a problem. And you will find that Socrates was a problem because they said that he was introducing something new to the youth in Greece, in Greek society at the time. What was Socrates introducing to them? What was it? And you can understand that will be the philosophy that he himself had acquired from the Africans in ancient Egypt. Because remember, that is where all of them went. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, all of them went to Africa. They went to the Africa to learn, and they spent sometimes tens and tens of, sometimes 40 years studying, because those who had the knowledge were the priests, and the priests knew the priest. It's not like today where you have somebody teaching you history, somebody is teaching you mathematics, someone else is teaching you physics, someone is teaching you chemistry. Education in those days was like you find in primary schools today. The teacher in the primary school is the jack of all trades. The same teacher teaches the children mathematics, English, everything, all the subjects, including how they would look after themselves, how to clean themselves. All that is taught to the child in primary schools by one teacher per class. That is how primary schools work. When you get to secondary, then you have what you call specialists, but not in primary schools. I am saying that is how it was in those days. The same priest will teach you history, will teach you mathematics, will teach you theology, will teach you this. And so it took a long time for you to be educated. That's the point I'm making. That is why the Greeks spent years and years in Africa trying to learn the knowledge. And then, having learned the knowledge, they went back. And so Socrates, went back. And he was then teaching the youth the things he had learned, including the slaves. And you can imagine, here's a society based on slavery. And here is a man from Africa teaching basically a revolution. Because if you are saying that even slaves can understand mathematics, what are you saying? What are you really saying? I mean, think about it. What are you saying? I mean, they're not supposed to be learning. They're supposed to be working in the farms and so on, not to be learning philosophy. Why do you think that the slave owners, those who stole our brothers and sisters from the continent, to the Americas, and created plantations in the south, of the Americas? Why do you think they banned our people from being educated? It's not because our people couldn't learn. Some of the people who went were scientists anyway. But why did they ban? Why was it a crime to teach an African, to read and write? Why? So the same reason that the slaveholders, the slave owners in America, the same reason that they banned Africans from reading and writing, because if you were caught, I don't know what the punishment was. It could be you were in prison or you were killed. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. But it's punishable by death, as we can see in the case of Socrates, because he was doing something that recently in America, not too recent, that those who own slaves do not like you to teach them. And if you are going around preaching, anybody can learn, anybody can be a philosopher, everybody can learn, everybody should. What are you saying? You are preaching a revolution. And people who are in power don't like that. And that is why Socrates was killed. But I say he could have run away, but he refused. So they said Socrates was corrupting the youth. Think about it. In Nkrumah, when he came to the Gold Coast, he was brought by the other Africans because they wanted him to come and lead the UGCC, the United Gold Coast Convention, which was a party that was set up. It was set up by a royal family in the Gold Coast, and they set it up because they didn't like the fact that the governor was interfering in their cultural norms, because they believed that they had a right to take the life of their citizens. And I don't know if you know the history, but an important king or chief died. Sometimes the tradition was to kill other people and put their heads in the coffin of the deceased or departing king. And there was a king. There wasn't a king. He was a very important. Well, maybe he was a chief, but he was a very important person in that royal household called Sir Nana Ofori Atta. And when he died, they wanted to kill. They killed another chief called Emmanuel Ohimeng. He was the chief of one of the sub towns. And the governor, the British governor, saw that as murder and took them to task. And the family was very powerful. They had lawyers in the family and so on. So they took on the British, basically. And so they set up this party in order to remove the governor from Ghana, then Gold Coast. So they wanted independence, not because they wanted the Africans to be free, but so that the British would stop interfering in their customs and traditions. And the governor also was unrelenting. For those who are interested, it's called the Kibi murders. But the point I'm making is that when Nkrumah came, and these people brought Nkrumah to the Gold Coast to fight for independence. When he came, he changed it, because he wasn't interested in that kind of independence. He was interested in the independence of the ordinary people, and they didn't like it. So he became. You see, so when you are promoting knowledge that is about liberating the people, those who are in power will not be happy. So to cut a long story short, this paragraph, the highlighted paragraph, is saying that because when the priests are in office, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be only priests. It can be any group of people with their own self-interests. You know, if they are in office and you want to say things or promote things that are not in their interest, they will oppose you. And if they have the power, they will kill you. And that is what they did to Socrates. And that is what this paragraph is telling us, that in those days the priests had power, and so on. Today the state has power. It is a state that has power. The state has prisons. The state has policemen. The state has security men. The state has an army, and they'll crush you if they have their way. And they have crushed people. They have killed people when they don't like you to be the next president. You know, they will set their people on you. That is a reality. So it's not just priests. If you bring it to modern Africa, the liberals and the conservatives who are in office, you know, they also are just like the priests. The time is 8:54. I think I will stop there. I think the point here is that, and this is the point of this chapter, that philosophy goes with society. The kind of society you have will determine the kind of philosophy you have. But the kind of philosophy you have, if it's an alternative to the prevailing philosophy and ideology, means that you are about to fight the current forces, or you are about to fight those in power. And if you are going to fight those in power, so that you will have power instead of them, then prepared to fight and maybe even go to war if that is required. This thing is not a joke. This thing we are talking about here, you know, those who have power will not just relinquish it. It doesn't happen anywhere. Well, those who have power will just say, okay, oh, we like, oh yeah, oh yes, we like the idea that the people's welfare is the supreme law. You know what? We're going to give up all power so that the people's welfare will be the supreme law. It will not happen. So you have to fight for it. The beauty of it is that you don't have to fight. Convince the people who have the power, because they have sovereignty. And if they believe that what you are saying is true and you will fight for them, they will support you. That is what happened to Nkrumah. It is the people, when he was removed as secretary of the UGCC, it is the people who said to him, Nkrumah, lead us and we will follow you. And that is where the song came from. You know, the song that they sing, you know, we shall follow you. We shall follow you. Osajifo. Osajifo. You know, so that song came from the congregation in Winneba because the people believed in Nkrumah. What we are saying is that today that is all lost. And those of us who are Pan-Africanists who want to begin to wake up our people to lead them, we also now have to get the people to believe in us. You know, because when the people believe in you, there's nothing they will not do for you. Nobody can touch you if they believe in you. They will protect you with their life if they have to, because they know that you are for them. You know, so it's 2057. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you, Brother Kwame. I think that's how the people are defending the priests today and their churches today, and they are ready to take everything it takes for the same gospel. So I believe it's a tool that can be. Brother Joseph, can you come in a minute or two, so that I can wind up? Your hand has been up for a while.
Yes, just to conclude with Brother Kwame. Socrates was killed because he introduced a system of questioning who, what, when, how, and that was revolutionary. In addition, I'm told that there's an African proverb that says, "He who asks questions cannot avoid the answers." And I think Socrates might have understood this from Africa, and also the fact that not to know is bad, but not to want to know is worse. If we put those things together, once people start asking questions and the right question, the answers come in various forms, and that is what the powers that be are frightened about. They're frightened that any, and I've been a victim of that. I've experienced that myself. Anytime you question things, you're in trouble. And I think that it's good to have a young person like Pigeon displaying that kind of tendency, Socratic attitude to asking questions that others are afraid to ask. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, we are actually right on our time. 11 in Kenya it's 11 p.m. anyway. I think it should be some other times in where you are. And this marks the end of our class today. Basically, thank you all for your sharing of your thinking and this aspect of the religion coming in. And we will continue to with this conversation because we are actually guided by the writings, and we need to check deeply why Nkrumah is introducing this in this book. Why is he covering this topic that many people still have issues with it today? And we have to look forward to how does he deal with it, or what does he recommend, or how does he go about it? Because that then will give us some answer to how to handle it currently, because it's a big topic to us. We will continue the class next Thursday. I believe next Thursday is actually towards African Liberation Day. Probably we might have African Liberation Day on that Thursday, the first day, and Saturday, the second day, but we'll communicate this to our members in our broadcast list and everything else, because we are looking forward also to check on the liberation of Africa, especially in all scopes. Are we really liberated? Both in religion that we're discussing today, in regards to education, our health system, our military system, our political systems, because we need to go back and look at the liberation. How is a liberated Africa looks like, and how are we really doing in regards to those key issues? Our education, is it liberated? Our health system, is it liberated? Our politics and everything else. So we are looking forward to host African Liberation Day probably that Thursday and Saturday. And if all goes well, maybe we might only have it on Saturday, but we'll communicate this. But all our recordings will be available for people who don't attend or didn't attend this, or people who have to follow up on some few issues we discussed today. Feel free to actually follow up on our YouTube channel, which is the Consciousness Study Group, to catch up with all our conversation. We were uploaded over 100 videos since we started this in the last almost 1 year. And we're looking forward to actually continue this in the second year. So please, thank you very much for those who have shared their thinking. As we say, no thinking is wrong. It's just a class where we share our thinking and build on our thinking. Without much ado, permit me to end the class today. And thank you very much. See you on this Saturday where we are discussing Africa Unification Part 3. We've reached a conversation where we've checked our African nationality, so-called tribes, and we are arriving at an issue of how do we develop an African governance system that works for all of us, because that's where the direction comes in. So how do you net all African nationality or tribes plus forming a government that can then be continental government? I've seen, of course, Museveni has recommended while he's in Kenya here that they need to be a federal government of East Africa today, where they have one political unit. So these are things we'll be exploring for the third phase. We've done it for the second phase, 2 phases, and Saturday will be the third phase. So kindly feel welcome to that conversation, and I'll be sharing the link to that probably tomorrow. So thank you very much, Brother Kwame. If there's nothing else, we can end the class today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. All right. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yes. Bye.